least Stampede Wrestling from, when is this? It's the 29th of January, still cold out there, 1984. Yes. At least Stampede Wrestling has 2 big events. There is, as your main event, the Tag Team Championship match. Now, Bruce Hart's better, and he will, of course, be tagging with Brian Pillman as Bad Company, the champions. But they will be facing Karachi Vice, won't they? No, not quite. And the reason being is because Gabriel Ports is not well. Not well at all. So it will be the Great Gamma, and he will be with Jerry Morrow. Now, I first of all thought, oh, come on, how can you do that? If someone's injured, how can you do that? But more of this later, but Gabriel Ports is not well at all. So that's your main event, and you've also got Strangler Steve DeSalvo, and they seem to be calling him Strangler again now. They were trying to turn him face, I think, last week. I don't think it's really taken, and so they're sort of bringing him in as a tweener, really, saying, well, you know, he's got some kind of he's got some questionable tactics, but then they both have, because he'll be facing Bad News Allen, who will later in the year be leaving to go to the WWF, like Pillman will be leaving to go to the WCW. Ryan. I know I've said that 3 weeks running. I can't resist it. I love it. But they'll be facing each other, and you know there has been a simmering enmity between them. So they'll be facing each other later on. There's your 2 big matches, and it's a longer episode this week. I've been watching 45-minute episodes. This is an hour and a quarter, folks. So you get a lot of work, and not all of it all that good, to be honest. Now, Whalen is introduced, Ed Whalen, who is loved, of course, by Stampede, is introducing the show in front of the ring. There's fighting taking place, and I thought this was to do with the way this had been copied onto YouTube, of course, but the camera is jumping. Then you've got something on the... It looks like the original programming, something on the screen that says we have recording issues, and we'll rectify these soon. I don't know, I think it must have been from the original Stampede area, and it goes right through the titles, but it stops, thankfully, when we join the match in progress. 10 minutes in, they keep doing this, Stampede, to get more matches in, I guess. Kerry Brown, who of course is hooked up with Rip Rogers, versus Johnny Smith. Now, he wears the same kind of trunks, wrestling tights, as the British Bulldog, David Boy Smith, and Dynamite Kid. He just looks... I don't know whether he's from Manchester, England. I don't quite know whether that's what he's done. I mean, they were from Yorkshire, weren't they? But I don't know whether he's trying to... You know, and he's a Smith. I don't know whether they're trying to kind of... or whether he's part of the lineage. Maybe somebody can tell me. I can't be bothered to find out, folks. I can't be bothered to find out. No, I can't. Well, it's not bad, but it's not brilliant, because Jürgen Hermann, by the way, is the ref. Now, last weekend, Whalen told us quite a lot that Jürgen Hermann was incompetent and terrible and appalling, and I thought they were doing some kind of Danny Davis, as I mentioned last week, Danny Davis type trick, you know, when he's a nasty referee and he's in the pocket of someone. But that's not really mentioned until you get to the main event. Come on, Ed, at least be consistent with this. So Jürgen Hermann is your ref. There is a Kerry Brown headlock. He throws Smith out, smacks his head on the ringside table, and then gets a yellow card. You get a poop on the a whistle, and he gets a yellow card. Now, I never remember seeing this last week. Is this something that's new? So it's like getting your... In the UK, you'd have your first and your second public warning from the ref, and then you'd be disqualified. Here you get a first and second yellow card, and then you're out. You're disqualified. This is new, folks, and it's not mentioned at all. I don't remember this last week. I missed a week or something, but I don't remember it. So anyway, second yellow card for Kerry Brown. I don't know why. Kerry then gets thrown off the top by Johnny Smith, and he won't allow Smith to get back into the ring when he dumps him out there. Eventually, Smith does get in and sort of hulks up, really, and smacks Brown's head into the ringside table. They don't half like that ringside table, don't they? Johnny Smith gets a suplex and a slam. There's 1 minute remaining, and there's a splash in the centre of the ring. An elbow to the head from Johnny Smith. 15 seconds remaining. At that point, you would expect that Johnny Smith would think, well, I need to bring about my strongest move now. I really need to take this home. There's only 15 seconds. Instead, he decides to go for a Boston Crab, which takes about 10 seconds for him to turn Kerry Brown around. And the time runs out, as you might expect. It's a time limit draw and a time limit bore as well. Oh, ho, ho. Oh, that was good. It felt nice. Yeah, time limit draw, time limit bore. Crowd don't seem happy. Neither am I. And we're on to Jason. What Jason tends to do. Because he's based on the Friday the 13th character, folks, versus Hashif Khan. They're both big fellas. There is a Jason headbutt with that plastic hockey mask he wears. That's got to hurt you, hasn't it? Elbows, smooth neck breaker actually. He misses a swanton. They don't call it that. Ed Whalen just said he really, because it's him and Jim Davis, in the Trilby, doing the commentary, and they talk about how it must have hurt his back, but they don't mention it's called a swanton. I don't think we got that until Jeff Hardy, did we? Anyway, back in the ring we have a Hashif Khan stomp, some kicks, a long Hashif Khan head crank and a headlock, and a long headlock actually as well. But then some Jason flying shoulder blocks, a sudden, very sweet DDT from Khan as Jason comes off the ropes. Khan then gets a suplex. There's a Jason pile driver. It looks good, and that flying headbutt. Yeah, because he's got the blooming plastic mask on. And the pin, it weren't bad though. Now, here's the first of your two interviews regarding your co-main event. Bad News Alan, who's talking to Ed Whalen, calls him Edward. He's from the streets of Harlem, remember? Remember, he's from the streets of Harlem, folks. And he wants revenge on DeSalvo. And he says that he's going to hurt him so much that DeSalvo will go home and slap his mother and his father for bringing him into the world because of the pain he's just suffered. He again calls himself the Ultimate Warrior. He won't be doing that when he gets to the WWF though, will he? No, he won't. Although wasn't called the Dingo Warrior at the time. He might have still been called the Dingo Warrior, Jim Hellwig. He might have been. Anyway, Makhan Singh versus Biff Wellington next. Remember, Makhan Singh was really desperate to fight for the heavyweight championship and all that, and was at the top of the card. Not at the moment, he's not. Although he will be coming back, folks. As per your case at the beginning of this, they love Biff Wellington here in Stampede. They really do. And Singh gets some shoulder blocks. He's the bigger man. So Biff Wellington tries a drop kick, which works somewhat. Then you've got that Abu Weesal, ho ho ho. He's talking to Makhan Singh on the apron, and Biff Wellington grabs both their heads and gives them a double noggin knocker. The crowd love it. And then Jim Davis tells us how that works. He grabbed both of the heads and forced those heads together. We know how a double noggin knocker works. You're not saying, let me tell you about the internal combustion engine, folks, are you? Jürgen Hermann's the ref. No comments about how he's incompetent at the moment from Ed. As I said, consistency, mate. There are some Biff Wellington stomps. He pulls the arm onto the ring post. I don't know whether that works, You're pulling the arm, wrapping it round the ring post. I mean, it can give you a nasty graze, I suppose, but he gets a yellow card for that. I don't know why. I've no idea why. Maybe he's outside the ring for too long. But you do have a count, don't you? So you could utilise that rather than the yellow card. Just do the count on him. Anyway, there's a power slam from Makhan Singh for a 2 count, and then a bear hold that's really loose. You probably could have got a thinner wrestler between those arms and Biff Wellington. It was that loose. Yeah. You've got the some kicks from Biff Wellington, and Ed Whalen then shouts, Nelly! which I think, if I remember rightly, he's well known for. First time I've heard it, but I think that's what he... Nelly! I think that's what he does. I think that's part of his shtick. Anyway, there's a drop kick from Biff Wellington. If it is part of his shtick, I'm not entirely delighted with it. And then a low bridge as Wellington comes in. Makan Singh low bridges him on a cross-body attempt. And then on a sunset flip attempt, when he comes back in from Biff Wellington, Makan Singh just sits on him. Then we've got a karate crush avalanche. It's an avalanche, really. It's called the karate crush, in the corner. He won't pin him. He tries another, then he pins him. So Biff Wellington, although we like him and everything, and we're trying to really push him up the ranks, just jobbed him out. Well, I mean, not just jobbed him out, but, yeah. And now Ed Whalen is showing us he's not really interested in talking to people. He's with Karate Vice, and Makan Singh has got the newspaper, local newspaper. He didn't have it when in the ring. He must have been handed it. Unless it was stuck in his trunk, so I didn't see it. And it's got Ed Whalen on front of the TV part of the paper. Yeah, they want to show us that. Now, they're going to bring in Gary Albright, who Makan Singh says is a family member. He does look like Makan Singh, or Trucker Norm, as we know him from as well. And he's going to talk to Gary Albright the whole time that Ed talks to Gary Albright, he's not very charismatic, but he's kind of saying, I'm very pleased to be here. He's my brother, and I really look up to him. He's a great wrestler. Ed Whalen's saying, yeah. He's just not interested. He's keener to turn his back on Gary Albright and talk to the great Gamma. Apparently, Ports is in the hospital, and we'll know more about this in a bit. Now, Pillman and Bruce Hart are interviewed, and it's quite a nice move, actually, and very sweet of him. Pillman talks about how Ports is in a very bad way in hospital. It's actually a stroke that he suffered, and he had to, he was McGee in the WWF. He's not Gabriel Ports, though, is he? Is it Gabriel Ports on this one? I think because he's called Garfield Ports, isn't he? On his actual name, it's Garfield Ports. Am I calling him Gabriel Ports, and he's not quite right? That's not quite right. I'm sure, because he's Scott McGee when he's in the World Wrestling Federation, which he was just before. He was there before he came here. No, he is Garfield Ports, his real name. Why am I calling him Gabriel Ports? Oh dear, that's naughty of me. Anyway, he's had a stroke and he's in the hospital, and Pillman is really, it's a heartfelt little bit of his promo here. I think at the end of it, he does talk about he's in the hospital, and he talks to the kids about staying off drugs. I don't know if that's anything to do. It makes it sound as though it is something to do with it. I don't know if it is. I don't know if that's the case at all, actually. But he had to retire from wrestling because of this. Still around, is my understanding. I probably need to check that out, don't I? He is still around. In Yorkshire, you can hear that from his accent. 65 now. Only 65. I mean, he's not that much older than me. Did a lot, actually. Anyway, they're bound to change things because that's a pretty sudden situation, really. So they will fight later on. They'll fight a different combo, as I said earlier, with Jerry Morrow being part of it. Actually, it's not a bad fight later on. Not bad at all. But before we get there, we've got Leo Burke coming back, who apparently is well loved. I know he is, actually. I don't know why I said apparently. I know he was well loved in Stampede. He's been at it since 1966, started his career in Stampede, and he has, as he tells Ed Whalen later on, he's been champion at Stampede 8 times. He wants his 9th championship win. Based around this match, I'm not quite sure that he'll be able to hang with Owen Hart, who's the current champion, when he comes back from Japan, because he's fighting Goldie Rogers here, and the first thing he does is slap on a hammerlock for ages, and then slap on an armbar for ages. Then there's a Goldie Rogers snap there, an elbow drop. Gut wrench suplex from Leo, and it's well done. Neck breaker for a 2 count. And then there's a sleeper. The crowd are really quiet here. And Goldie Rogers' arm drops 3 times. That's your pin or your win. The crowd don't seem to... They're not massively keen. Considering he was really popular, they ain't massively keen. Now, just before the Strangler DeSalvo match, Strangler Steve DeSalvo, he's interviewed by Jim with the Trilby hat. Says he's better than Bad News Allen. He will surprise him. He can't just... It's not just about my 700-pound bench press. Yeah, well, it'll have to be about more than that. Yeah. And he said, bad news will be yesterday's news, Jim Davis says. And Steve DeSalvo says, yeah, I like that. That was good. That's very nice. It is a good line, I have to say. And here's your match, which is unsatisfactory. We join it about 5 minutes in, when both of them are on the mat. Not a good place to join it. Join it with both of them sucking air on the mat. Not great. There's a choke from Bad News Allen in the ropes. He likes that, spoiling. Several times he does that. He's got 2 yellow cards now. 2 yellow cards. Just count him with the 5 and disqualify him. There's a slam from Allen, but he misses a splash. And Steve DeSalvo gets the clothesline, which sort of gets him down. Then he picks him up and does a rotation, and the feet hit the referee, who's Jurgen Herman, I think, if I remember rightly. So there's a ref bump. No, it's not. I think it might be Wayne Hart. But anyway, so that's the ref bump. And then Makan Singh is in, gives him a quick Karachi crush. Not Bad News Allen, of course. His opponent, Steve DeSalvo, because of course he likes Bad News Allen, doesn't he? So he gives him that Karachi crush, and then he's out quickly. And I think it is Bruce. I think it is not Bruce Hart, Wayne Hart. He's up quickly, you know. And then Jason's in, and it ends in a DQ. It's really, as I say, unsatisfactory. But this will continue, won't it? They want this feud to continue. They're adding more to it. That's fair enough. Then you've got Ed Whalen with Strangler and with Jason. And it's great, actually. Steve DeSalvo does, oh, please, give me a moment, my ribs. And actually, it's good work. You do think maybe you are a bit injured with that. He wants a cage match. And he says to Jason, you won't be able to understand this, but I want a cage match. And Jason's, and then he picks him, cage match, he gets excited, grabs him, and starts to hit Jason. Then walks away. Jason walks after him as if to say, you hit me, you swine. And it looks like there's going to be some kind of altercation. I don't know what's going on, but they're supposed to be together. And then what we're told is, when Bad News Allen is in there with Jim Davis, maybe there's going to be a cage match, maybe there's going to be a tag match. I think he said cage match, and he shouldn't have said cage match, because it looks like they're going to actually just tag. So cage match would mean more money, and it means a different kind of event, doesn't it? Bad News Allen calls Davis a chipmunk, by the way. Yeah. And they will meet, it looks like, next week, but it looks like just in a tag match. Yeah. Don't mention cage match, Steve. Cage match! Oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, Pillman and Bruce Hart versus Morrow and Gabba for the Tag Team Championships. Currently around the waist of Bad Company, Pillman and Bruce Hart. Pillman's double Hurricane Rana is nice, but it's a head scissors and holding on to the other head, isn't it? Not done very often these days. Really, I really like the look of it, you know. Looks a bit clunky, so maybe that's why it's not done, but I like it. Then you've got a shoulder into the Morrow midsection from Pillman, and a kind of corkscrew Hurricane Rana, which sends Morrow out of the ring. It's very nice. Jurgen Herman gives a yellow card to Bruce Hart. We don't know why. Controversial, says, I think it's Jim Davis, or it could be Ed. Controversial. And then we get sound again like Gordon Soldy. I'm always doing that. Flying knee and stomps from Brian Pillman. He does most of the work here, to be honest. Gamma gets some elbows on the outside, which are not seen, and because of the incompetent referee, says Ed. Both challengers are then off the top onto Bruce Hart. Well, I mean, Ed Winning getting cheesed off about this and talking about how dare they and how could Jurgen Herman not see that? Well, he did see it, but they've got 5 count to get in and out, haven't they? So they are allowed to do that, Ed. It's part of the rules of wrestling, isn't it? Yeah. Then there's a Hart sleeper, low blow, which Jurgen Herman doesn't see because he's talking to Jerry Morrow at the time, which is understandable. Morrow's in to use the tape to choke. It's something he does. It's one of the things he does. Then they're both in. Gamma gets some choking as well. No tag. That's not even mentioned by Ed. No tag. I noticed that, Ed. Gamma then throws some powder ostensibly at Bruce Hart because he is being held by Jerry Morrow. Of course he gets out of the way and Jerry Morrow gets it in the face. And then there is a pin, a flying clothesline, and a pin from Bruce Hart as Pillman deals with Gamma so he doesn't get in. And then Davis tells us, and it's really weird, that the challengers won by DQ. Because apparently Jurgen Herman, get this, Jurgen Herman, even though he saw the powder being thrown, I think he did, says that Bruce Hart threw the powder. Right, well, you'd need to be turned the other way to throw the powder. Did he grab some powder from somewhere in the ring and throw it over his shoulder into Jerry Morrow's face? Is that what he's saying? Because I know you're doing this, Jurgen Herman is incompetent, but only in the main event, folks. He's okay and everything else. It's just the main event that he's incompetent in, which doesn't work. You've also got him saying that Bruce Hart threw powder, and that doesn't work at all. In fact, quite a lot of it this week doesn't work. But I'm enjoying it because it is. It looks like it will be the dying throws or last throws of the dice even, of Stampede Wrestling. And to see the way that they're working with talent that looks similar, with a couple of, you can see it coming, their 2 main stars really, heel and face are going to go, and who's going to replace them? Not Strangler Steve DeSalvo, surely. So you've got that, and you've also got screw job finishers and yellow cards. It's interesting. I'm really enjoying reviewing this for EH Productjons. EH, and of course Steve Chris Rambling Reviews. Oh yes, the ramblingest of reviews. And I'm looking forward to seeing it next week. Because of this. And it's not from 1980. Did I say 1984? This is from 1988, folks. 1988. I think I put on my notes 84. But it's 88. It was finished around 90. So that's beginning to be the end. And although I feel a bit mournful about it, like watching someone convalesce, it's interesting, isn't it? Ta-ta.